Sometimes you win, sometimes you stumble. That's just the way the cookie crumbles.
Hello, all you beautiful cookie connoisseurs out there. Welcome to the maiden voyage of our very own cookie unboxing and review channel. That's the way the cookie crumbles. My name is Hobart Owen.
And I'm Tony Owen.
And today we are going to review a beautiful product for you and give you our honest thoughts on everything about it.
Today's episode, titled What's Left on the Shelf, for obvious reasons, we went in to choose our first cookie to be reviewed today. And we were really just going in there, and it was real slim pickings. You know, with this virus going around, everybody's in the craze to, get their pantry full of, delicious morsels to make it through these troublesome times. So we thought that we would review, some of what was left. So let's say that you like us, you rolled out of bed a little bit late and you still feel like you want some cookies. You get in there and, maybe the Newman's O's are gone, or, whatever people are eating, the Tates. But let's say there's some of the lesser known brands. Maybe you could still find one that's gonna hit that spot for you, on the late night couch sesh. All right, so for today's cookie review, our very first one, we're gonna be reviewing Mandy's chocolate chip butter cookies. They describe it as an artisan baked sweet cream butter cookie.
For our first review category, tell me, how would you rate the product design overall? What made you choose this one over all the others?
Well, let's look at the way that the packaging looks first off, because that's really what made it jump out at me. You asked me to pick the first cookie for the series, and of what was left, I was looking for one that looked enticing right off the bat, something that would really, look like it was something that I would actually want to eat, And I was feeling like a chocolate chip cookie. And here was this nice container here. It almost looks like a Pringles can, but a little bit more classy. You can see these nice ornaments around the edges here. And the font's really nice. Says, Mandy's butter cookies are made from an old-fashioned recipe that calls for simple and wholesome ingredients. Each cookie is made from pure sweet cream butter and baked to perfection to create an indulgent snack with a melt-in-your-mouth texture. Serve with coffee, tea, or milk, or simply make these artisan-baked butter cookies an anytime treat. And so as I look at this packaging, I look at the ingredients, and I don't even really need to read them to get a sense of what style of cookie we're working with here. Usually, for my taste, I like to see maybe that there's 4 or 5 ingredients, maybe. Eggs, butter, chocolate chips. I like the more simple, the better, And one thing that I noticed, although in its description it says that it's made with the simple and wholesome ingredients, there's a few on here that, I just wouldn't, I'm not buying it,
I hear you.
Yeah.
I'm seeing a whole lot of multisyllabic ingredient words on here that may or may not.
Carbanoid, benzenoid, thiamine glyphosate. I don't know if I want that in my snack here. So overall, I think it's a good design. I think I would, in terms of the packaging, and let's open this up here and see. I like this. It has a nice aluminum lid that's sealed with a little plastic. And as we open this up, we see, so it has an internal wrapper for freshness. And let's fully open this here and see what's on the inside. Okay, it's pretty easy to open. That's big for those, when you're just trying to get those Ooh, already I see something that is a little suspicious, huh? So
That's unfortunate.
that's very unfortunate. So I would expect when I open this for all the cookies to be intact, right? Because this is somewhat of a robust container. What I'm finding is that although there's an internal tray, there's a wrapper, the cookies have already crumbled.
That's really unfortunate.
That's unfortunate. But as far as the packaging goes, I think they did a pretty good job. And I'm going to give it 6.8 Chewbacca's. That's my final score on that.
This next section I'm going to be reviewing is the cookie appearance. You know, when I open a box of cookies, or let's say I'm having some sort of a dinner party, snacks for a sports game, I want to know with confidence when I open that package that I can lay out my cookies on a platter and they're going to look delightful.
That's big. Does that pass your initial test?
Initially, I'm not impressed. Despite, like you said, being housed in this robust can design, as opposed to some other cookies which come in bags or cardboard boxes, we're not seeing that stability translate into the actual packaging of the cookies itself. There's a fair amount of breakup. And so when I opened the container and looked inside, not only is there a lot of crumbs, but out of all these cookies in the package, there's only a select few that I would actually feel confident about displaying in my home. I will say that as far as chip distribution, it seems like they all follow like a solid line in the cookie. I'm not seeing a lot of distribution around the entire circumference of the cookie. Which to me is a little bit troubling. It's a little messy. So unfortunately, the appearance, they're bite size. They seem to be well baked. It's a nice golden brown texture. But overall, I think I'm going to have to give the cookie appearance a score of 4.5 Chewbacca's.
Okay, I think that's fair as well. Which is going to lead us into our next point of review, which is the actual texture of the cookie. So, as far as store-bought cookies, one thing I'm looking for is a nice crisp snap. If they're going for a crisp chocolate chip cookie, then I don't want it to be a stale cookie. Because if it's not chewy and it's not crisp and it's just stale, that's not going to do it for me. So the first thing in terms of the texture of the cookie, I'm going to go for that snap. And I got to say, it just kind of fell apart. So there wasn't a strong snap. It broke into 2 or 3 pieces. If I wanted to share this, let's say with my little nephews and nieces, there's going to be an argument already because these cookies are going to fall apart in your hands, and then they're not going to be of even variety. So right off the bat, that's not the best look in terms of texture. I'm going to take a bite here and see what the texture is like here. Okay, initially the texture is pretty good, but then it just kind of crumbles quickly into almost like a sand-like texture.
Yeah, it really dissolves on the palate.
It dissolves. It turns into a kind of a powdery mess. So that's going to go and factor in towards my score. And then the final element that's going to really crystallize my score for texture is we're gonna judge these cookies on one of our favorite points, which is dunkability. Okay,
Very
a
important.
cookie has to have choice dunkability.
Can I pour you a glass of this fine Strauss milk?
Hopefully our future sponsor here, Strauss Organic Milk, cream on top, whole milk. We only use whole milk. And this is actually locally homegrown milk from grass-fed cows out in Petaluma, California. So now I'm going to take a better example of one of these whole cookies here. And we're each going to do it. And we're going to test the dunkability here. Now, one thing that I'm going to be looking for is, when I'm dunking this cookie, I like to hold it in there a little while and just see if it saturates with just enough milk to enjoy without it breaking apart and falling to the bottom of your glass.
I'm glad you said that, Tony, because I'll tell you, there's nothing I hate more than going to take a dunk of my cookie in a glass of water and ending up with a soggy sludge of cookie batter at the bottom of the glass. That's one thing when I'm thinking about cookies I don't want to see. So we're going to see right now how this cookie performs on the dunkability test.
Okay, we're going to go for our dunk right here. Let's get a close-up on that dunk here.
It's holding together pretty well. I'm
gonna
surprised.
give it the 10-second test. 1, 2, 3, 4. I've already done about 3 seconds. 7, 8. Okay, that's good. I'm gonna pull that out. Now let's see what the texture is like when I taste it.
I gotta say it's much improved by the addition of the milk.
Yeah, I gotta say it is. When I dipped it, it did hold its form. As soon as I put it in my mouth, it broke apart, it crumbled, but it was delicious. Which we'll get to the flavor after, but right now I'm gonna have to give this a score for texture. And let me think about it here. I'm gonna have to give it 5 Chewbaccas.
I'd have to say that the cookie's ability to hold together with the addition of milk allowed its score to hold together.
It was surprising too. It was surprising. I thought we were gonna have a goopy mess like you talked about. Now we're getting on to one of the most important points, and I'm gonna let my brother take over on this one.
Sure. Now, all these other factors aside, perhaps the most important part of any food product, but especially with cookies, is flavor. And when I'm biting into a cookie, yes, I want a good texture. Yes, I want it to hold its form. But if that cookie don't taste good, I'm not buying it. And I think we're going to have to test it right now and see just how this cookie performs on a flavor basis. So I'm going to take a bite.
Now, flavor is going to hold a hefty weight in our overall score because, as we said, what's the most important thing about a cookie? It's the way it tastes. So I'm going to give my brother a little bit of time here to think about this, really take it in.
Yeah, my initial experience with the flavor was there wasn't enough.
Not enough flavor.
Yeah, when I bite into that cookie, I'm hoping for like an immediate explosion of a little bit of sweetness, a little bit of softness, saltiness, and combined with the kind of ashy, crumbly, dry texture, there's just not a whole lot of flavor cutting through. I can barely taste the chocolate chips, which speaks to our earlier point that there just wasn't enough of those.
Yeah.
I will say that with the addition of a nice glass of cold Strauss whole milk, organic grass-fed, it does do a lot for the cookie. It does combat some of the dryness. And certainly I would not recommend these cookies without a glass of milk.
And especially this organic Strauss milk. I mean, this milk above many is going to flatter any cookie that you throw at it. So much is the cookie milk pairing that we're talking about.
And make sure that if the cookie selection is slim, you want to go whole milk. Because that extra amount of fat is going to do wonders for a cookie that maybe needed a little bit more fat.
Totally.
So with all those points taken into deep and careful consideration and really considering every aspect of these cookies' flavor, unfortunately, Tony, I'm going to have to give these Mandy's chocolate chip butter cookies a score of 3 Chewbaccas.
3 Chewbaccas on flavor.
Chewbaccas.
It's understandable, and it's a shame because, when I bought these cookies, the way that it's packaged, it looked so promising.
I feel you. The fact that it comes in a metal tin, to me, that meant quality. It wasn't your typical plastic bag. But unfortunately, the cookies themselves didn't really follow through, and I was forced to give it the lowest flavor score I've ever given a cookie.
The
on
lowest
show.
you've ever given it.
Yeah.
It's not looking good, which is going to bring us to our overall score. And on this one, each one of us Owen brothers are going to have our own score because, as we know, cookies, they're subjective. So one person likes a crisp snap, another likes a chewy cookie. One person is going to highly favor dunkability, where others might not like milk.
Yeah, so after careful consideration and really taking the time to analyze and break down all these different qualities that go into this cookie, unfortunately, I'm going to have to say that for me, my overall score of this here Mandy's chocolate chip butter cookies, I'm going to give it a score of 4 Chewbaccas.
I think that's a fair score. And, mine was actually close, to 4. And where mine differed was I thought about, under the texture category, which ranks high for me, the dunkability factor. And as you remember, when we finally dunked that, it did surprisingly hold its composure, which is going to give me an extra 0.3 on there. So I'm going to go with a 4.3. I think that's a fair choice. They're still, pretty good tasting cookies. So, if your options are real slim on the shelf, you could still get away with, this would work for, a stony night on the couch or something, and it would still hit that spot. But you better have that Strauss organic milk, to supplement, or it's be like kind of like eating sand.
Yeah, totally. All right, folks. Well, thanks for tuning in to our little cookie review here. We're going to hope to bring you many more reviews in the future of many more different products. I'm Hobart Owen.
And I'm Tony Owen.
And from this is the Owen Brothers signing off saying, that's the way the cookie crumbles.
Sometimes you win, sometimes you stumble. That's just the way the cookie crumbles.